Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Motorcyclist MC Commute. Today we're going to be riding to the office on Ducati's 2019 Panigale V4 S. This episode of MC Commute is brought to you by Cortec. On today's ride, I'm wearing the Cortec Relic jacket and Cortec Bully gloves on the Panigale V4 S. If you want to know more information about these products, please check the links in our description. Now let's throw the helmet on and go for a ride.
Well, here she is, guys. Ducati's beloved 2019 Panigale V4 S. This is Ducati's top-of-the-line liter plus-sized superbike. Built for the racetrack, street legal to ride on the road. This is the pinnacle of Ducati performance. And it's a very special bike. I love the look of this thing. I mean, just look at how beautiful it is. I mean, that red paint, the fit and finish on these Ducati motorcycles has really elevated. Look at these fasteners. The way everything is put together is at a much higher level than even the 1299 L Twin Ducati sport bike. Like, the fit and finish is really good. It's just such a beautiful bike. Look at those perfectly machined Brembo monoblock calipers, the Öhlins fork, just perfectly machined. Everything is just lined up perfectly. The only little squawk in the fit and finish department, to me, is just this casting on the engine on the top of the rear cylinder. You can see a little bit of corrosion just from being near the ocean. That's the only little bit of fit and finish squawk. I'm sure you could just take that right out with a little bit of Scotch-Brite. But besides that, this is a very well put together bike. It's a bike that's going to turn a lot of heads visually. But enough talking about how good it looks. Let's see how good or not good it rides. Alright guys, here we are at the cockpit. We've got it in race mode right now. Race mode, traction control is off, slide control is off, EBC is on 1, which means it's maximum engine compression braking. When I ride on the street, I like to have maximum engine compression braking because it allows you to back it in a little bit easier. It's more fun. We have ABS on 1, so we can do slides on the rear tire during braking, and we can do endos too, nose wheelies. I like that. Ducati electronic suspensions on fixed mode. Dynamic would be totally fine too, but we're just going to ride it in fixed mode for now. As we said, traction control off, wheelie control off. We don't need any of that stuff. We're in full power mode. I like full power mode because if you don't have full power mode, the bike's a little bit harder to wheelie. What do you guys think, man? Hear that 1103cc V4. Wow, what a bike. Let's get going before the neighbors get upset from the noise. This bike's a funny bike because when you're in the cockpit, it actually sounds super loud. It's just really loud. And like, oh my god, it's such a loud motorcycle. But if you're standing next to it, it's actually not as loud as you would think, just because the way the exhaust emits right to the ground. So right to the road is the outlet of the exhaust pipes. And that just helps kind of keep the motorcycle quiet to passerby type people. So right away, we're sitting on this motorcycle, and it is an aggressive riding position, no doubt. This bike is not for casual motorcycle riders. It's a very committed position. Up until recently, I only rode this motorcycle on the track. And on the track, it just feels so natural. I mean, you're going at Mach 2 around the racetrack the whole time. So when you're at that elevated pace, the riding position lends itself really well to that application. But on the street, it seems like it feels a little much. Seat's super tall, it's canted forward, handlebars very low. It's a very committed riding position. It's not as extreme as old L-twin powered Ducati sport bikes, 916, 999, 1098. Let's split some traffic, guys. Let's get it going. But it's still pretty aggressive. I do like how slim the riding position still is. Ducati sport bikes have always been known for their slim position and positioning, and this thing continues with that trait. And away we go, guys. So even though this engine has double the cylinder count, Ducati, it's only 2 inches wider. So the engine only is 2 inches wider than before. It's not a lot of space. And like I said, the bike still feels very slim. And the way they position the fuel tank also makes it slim, just because you have these huge cutouts where your knees and thighs would go. It just continues to make the bike not even slim feeling, but it helps you squeeze the tank when you're braking or when you're accelerating to help you keep you in position from sliding back or forward from the G-forces. So the engine's 2 inches wider than the L-twin Ducatis, yet the overall profile of it from front to back has actually been reduced. It's a more compact engine than before. And that's really the highlight of this motorcycle, is just the engine. It has so much power. Ducati superbikes have always been known for their power, whether it's the diesel truck stump pulling torque of the 1098, 1198, or the punchy top end of the 1199, 1299. Well, this 1103cc V4 has both power band traits. It's got a ton of torque. It builds over 60 foot-pound of torque from just over 3,000 RPM. Peaks at 80 foot-pounds of torque. It has 80 foot-pound of torque pretty much throughout the majority of the power band. It's got a tremendous amount of torque. And horsepower, my God, this thing is insane. 187 horsepower at the back tire. Ducati claims 214 horsepower, but it doesn't make that much. It makes 187 horsepower at the tire. And that's horsepower numbers that have, up until this bike, have been pretty much owned by that pesky Bavarian RR machine. So this engine is no slouch. And it's a rever. This bike revs to north of 14,500 RPM. It's extremely fast. When you have the tachometer north of 10,000 RPM, you better hang on. I mean, realistically, 11,000 RPM. North of 11,000 RPM, you gotta hang on. And this thing just pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls. It's really absurd. It's a very exhilarating motorcycle to ride. It's very fun. It might not be the absolute fastest in terms of lap times at the track. I mean, it is a fast motorcycle, no doubt, and you can go insanely quick around racetracks on it, but it's just a little bit of a handful. There's other bikes out there that just do everything a little bit more smoothly, which allows you to go faster with ease. Look, we're already going 80, barely even accelerated. Finally a turn. That's what this Panigale V4 S is made for, turns. Love the brakes on this motorcycle. Extremely powerful, easy to use. They have great feel, great power. The front suspension has good spring rate damping, so you can really use the brakes aggressively without the bike wanting to endo like crazy or do anything really silly. This S-equipped Panigale V4 S adds Öhlins DEC, or actually Öhlins EC 2.0 DES S is Ducati's acronym for that feature, Ducati electronic suspension. But it's actually made by Öhlins. It's EC 2.0. It's the second generation. It's the same type of suspension that the current Yamaha YZF-R1M uses. And when Ducati first came out with this Öhlins suspension, Jesus, ride's a little bit bouncy, guys. A little bit bouncy. It's not the most supple ride on this bumpy surface here. But, I mean, it's a track bike, so what would you really expect? It'd be interesting to see if we put dynamic dampening control on there, if it made things a little smoother. Anyways, when Ducati first unveiled their electronic suspension on the 1299 Panigale, I think in 2015 model year, it didn't work that great. The calibration was just off. And I don't think it was the calibration from Öhlins. I think it was the calibration from Ducati's engineering team, because the Yamaha equivalent worked excellent. So that's what that tells me. But fast forward to this 2018, now 2019 model, they really have the EC settings more well calibrated. When you put this thing in dynamic mode and crank everything to maximum, and you're maybe a little bit heavier guy, a little faster guy, the chassis works really well at that city on the track. On the street, of course, you have the ability to set the fixed damping settings like we have now, or run it on dynamic where the machine just does it for you based off information it receives from the vehicle via the IMU and wheel speed sensors and brake pressure sensor and all that kind of stuff. Back on the road, guys, we're here in 6th gear. This thing has electronic quick shifter, so you can just upshift without using the clutch. You just have to press up on the gear shift lever and it'll jump right into the next gear. It also has auto blip downshift functionality, so when you downshift, you just press on the lever. You don't even have to use a clutch lever. You can be giving it gas and it'll just automatically just downshift. Really nice feature. That feature is not so much, doesn't really have any practicality on the street, to be honest. That's all the racetrack derived feature. It's a feature that the whole point of it is to allow the tires to be hooked up constantly. So when you're using the clutch and shifting manually, that little split second where you're unloading the tires and the chassis, well, on the racetrack you don't want to do that, because that just takes away grip for a little bit, and when you're whaling, that can screw things up. So that's the premise of the auto blip downshifter. So no real use on the street, but track's where it's at, but we're happy it has it. This engine, this thing purrs like a kitten. Yeah, there's a little bit of vibration from it, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's enough to cloud the mirrors. The mirrors are shaking and they're a little bit useless, to be honest with you. But we'll take it, because just this engine sounds and feels so good. It's got a lot of character, but it's got the good kind of character. It's the fun, pleasing, refined character. This engine, and especially the throttle and the EFI settings, they feel much more refined than in past Ducati sport bikes. Much more refined. Right now, like we mentioned before, we're riding in maximum power engine setting with the most amount of throttle response, and it's good. The engine's very responsive, but not overly so. For street riding, it would be nice to maybe neuter that throttle response by maybe about 10%, especially when you crack open the throttle and get into it, maybe 10-15%. You know, sport mode, when I put the engine in the medium setting, if you have sport mode, it kills it too much, so it neuters the power band too much. You still have full access to power in terms of top end performance, but it doesn't feel that way. The bike's just not quite snappy enough. Where this throttle, I could understand for some it's actually too snappy. So I wish Ducati had a little bit more adjustability in terms of the throttle response. That'd be a really welcome change, Ducati, for 2020. Adjustable throttle response as an independent setting. That's what we want. Alright, another turn, guys. Green light, let's go. Whoa. Things got a little sideways for a second there. Did you guys hear that? In addition to the Öhlins 2.0 EC suspension, this Panigale V4 S also gets forged aluminum wheels. So the base model comes with standard cast aluminum wheels. It's a little bit heavier wheel, not quite as pretty when you look at it super close. This thing's on higher spec forged wheels. The wheels are wrapped in Pirelli's Diablo Supercorsa tire V3. This is a ultra high performance sport motorcycle tire. You can do track days on it, you can go in the corners and wail on it, and it's the third iteration of this tire. It's a tire specifically designed for the Panigale V4 S. I remember at the press introduction in Valencia spring of 2018, I think it was, or 17, Ducati said that this tire, this Diablo Supercorsa V3, would be coming out commercially, so everyone would have access to this new breed of rubber. But I haven't yet seen it available commercially, so I'll have to check to see if they actually did that. But it's a great tire, tons of grip. This thing actually has a new 260 series rear, so it's a little bit taller, a little bit wider, allows you to put a little bit larger footprint against the ground when you're leaned over. You know, old Ducati superbikes weren't so good at going slow. This thing is pretty good at going slow right now. It's not terrible. The engine's pretty smooth. There is some heat. I mean, even at 36 miles per hour on a 70-degree morning, 7:23 a.m., there's some heat that's thrown off this engine. If you keep the bike moving, you know, above 50, 60 miles per hour, the heat's really not that much of an issue. But my God, if you get this thing standing still for any amount of time, or at a stoplight at its, 70, 80 degrees outside, this thing throws off an insane amount of heat. Ducati superbikes have always been known for their generous amount of heat they throw off from the engine, and this must be the most amount of heat generated into the cockpit of any motorcycle I've ever ridden in my life. It is literally excessive. If you were riding in the winter and it was 32 degrees outside, you would be wanting to ride this bike because it throws so much heat onto the rider's legs and lower body. So just keep that in mind. This bike does not like to idle in traffic at Daytona Bike Week. You're gonna not be liking life. Great brakes. Love the brakes. So much power. God, it's fast. Look, 100 miles per hour just in like 1 second. Sorry guys, I know I broke the law right there, but I just had to experience the V4 might of the Panigale for a split second. Unbelievable amount of performance and exhilaration this bike has. Like I said, the suspension is a little bit bouncy on this stuff. Doesn't deliver the most favorable ride quality over the bumps, but again, this bike's designed for competition and for track use and for really hauling butt, and when you're in those kind of situations, it works really good. Alright guys, we're nearing the completion of our ride. We're almost to work. I know we talked about the fit and finish a little bit when we were sitting at a standstill before we rode, but I really have to commend Ducati. The fit and finish on this bike, it's improving. They're getting better. I still wouldn't say it's the best built superbike on the market, but the build quality is definitely elevating, so kudos to the folks in Italy and Bologna for really working on that and trying to make a better product. Love this dash display. It's big, bright, it's loaded with features, fuel mileage, trip meters, temperature at 68 degrees right now, average speed. The menu functionality, it's not touchscreen. You have to use this control device here on the left, clip on, and it's easier to use than previous Ducatis, but it's still not as intuitive as it should be. It's about 85% there. Alright guys, here's our wheelie test. This is going to be interesting. Whoa, whoa. Yeah, she wheelies. She wheelies real good. Back it in, not so much. The clutches on these bikes, for whatever reason, make these bikes hard to back in, and the rear brake has literally no feel. Either it's on or it's off. So, good job Ducati on the wheelie test. Throttle's a little bit crazy, but we still did it, got her done. Back it in test, not so much. Clutch feels kind of weird, and the rear brake has no feel, but still sick. Alright guys, we're just pulling into the Motorcyclist office here. If you guys want to know more about the Panigale V4 S, check out cycleworld.com. I know for sure they have a review there. I don't know if motorcyclistonline.com has a review there. They might, but they might not too. So guys, we're coming to the end of our ride. Would I buy this $27,900 V4S, Panigale V4S? Would I buy it? Well, I would certainly consider it if I was looking for a leader superbike. I would definitely consider it. It looks awesome. The styling really grew on me when it first came out. I didn't really like it as much. Now I really like it. It looks awesome. Has tremendous engine power and character. Tremendous. Like tremendous. This engine in here wails like insane. So that alone, if you just want a crazy fast bike that's going to scare the bejesus out of you, but still put a smile on your face, woo, that 1103cc engine will do it. So it looks cool. It's fast as hell. The ergonomics, they work good. Chassis works good. We didn't really talk a lot about the chassis, but the chassis is much improved on this bike. My God. That original 1199, 1299 debacle, that thing was just a nightmare. And this front frame, half twin spar frame, half old style monocoque kind of style frame, this hybrid works really good on this bike. We'll talk more about it later in the future. But it's got a good chassis now. Looks good, good engine, good chassis, great brakes. I would absolutely, totally consider buying this bike. Maybe not as a street bike. Realistically, it's a little bit of a handful on the street. You know, you can go 100 miles per hour in literally 2 seconds on the bike, 3 seconds. And it generates a tremendous amount of heat from that big, humongous engine. and it's not very, very comfortable to ride on the street. Now, it's not terrible, but there's definitely other choices. But for dedicated track use, or for a bike where I'm going to ride it a little bit on the street and then maybe more on the track, I would totally consider this $27,800 Ducati Panigale V4 S. All right, guys. Oh, we almost forgot. It's a little Q&A time. Almost forgot. Sorry, guys. Let's let's turn on the Instagram machine, see what we got here. All right. What do you guys want to know? Here we go. Let's do it. Let's go right from the top, guys. This Kim Lau writes, this or the RSV4 1000? Oh, well, that depends. I would probably go with the RSV4 1000, but if I got a really good deal on this one, I might go for this. Again, if I was riding on the street, RSV4 1000 for sure. If I was planning on just riding on the track, it could be either or. Great question. Which is faster, the guy who kills tires? Great handle name, by the way. Which is faster, the Ducati, BMW, or RSV4? Great question, great question. Well, realistically, the RSV4 is going to be fastest around the racetrack, all things considered, with the bikes all running the same tires and set up proper and yada, yada, yada. The RSV4 is going to be fastest on the track. On the street, they're all fast. They're all fast, but RSV4 is likely the fastest on the track, if you're riding with an experienced rider who knows what he's doing. Okay, guys, here's one. Is it the prettiest bike ever made or the most beautiful bike ever made? Says Raw 7S. Well, I wouldn't say it's the most beautiful bike ever made, but it's definitely pretty. It looks good. I like how Ducati really followed the form factor of the Panigale 1199, 1299 and made a little bit of tweaks here and there. I mean, you can tell 100% it's a Ducati superbike. They did a really good job on the styling. All right, one more question here. Martin D. Sanchez writes, how does the torque delivery feel at low revs compared to a traditional L twin? Well, it doesn't have quite as much bottom end torque as a Ducati L twin. Those days are over, but it's not as flat as the Super Quattro high revving crazy over square 1199 1299 engine. It has more torque initially than those bikes at the bottom, but it still has a good amount of torque up top. It's a very interesting power band. I think Ducati did really good with it. It's not quite as torquey down low as those bikes, but it has a good meaty torque power band, and then it carries that torque high into the revs, if that makes sense. It's kind of a interesting, weird configuration. It's always hard to compare the torque of a V-twin and a V4 to inline 4 because the engine configurations allow the engine to make power at different levels in the power band. All right, guys, one more question. How's the gearbox? Gearbox isn't bad. Throw isn't excessive. Went between gears pretty well. Neutral wasn't that bad to find. I like the electronic quick shifter on the upshifts and the auto blip downshifter. I would probably rate the transmission a B- or a C+. So, good job. All right, guys, that's a wrap from today's MC Commute. Make sure to leave us a comment in the description below, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.